Hello, how are you going? I really hope you're doing well. So, today I thought I'd talk about the just feeling of uncertainty and the depression that comes with it. So, what I really wanted to talk about is because over the last few days, we've been preparing for a cyclone. It's like, I don't know why, it's like just there's a lot of hype and a lot of fear surrounding it. I think it's because we've never really experienced one in the city. We live in Brisbane and it's like just something that we haven't experienced before. And I think there's just a lot of like fear and uncertainty, and you can feel it in the air. Like you can feel it when you go out, and you can feel it when you go on the internet. It's kind of almost like when COVID was there, it was like doom scrolling. You're looking at everything and everything's kind of making you nervous. I'm just glad that the rest of the world is not experiencing that, honestly, because it is a bit scary. And I noticed this really interesting pattern is whenever I deal with situations where I'm very uncertain, I'm likely to want to doom scroll. It's like this bad habit, and that comes with feeling of anxiousness, anxiety, and depression. And what I've noticed is that familiar heavy feeling in my stomach likes to come back. And it's like I can almost pinpoint the feeling of that specific. It's like if I would have to describe it, I think I would describe it as grief, because it does feel like you're losing something because you're not sure. Like you could be losing it, you're not sure. So it's like that feeling when you grieving for something but you're not too sure if you should grieve yet, is the feeling I'm getting from all of this. So if you're feeling that too, I totally understand. And we're just going to discuss what's the best ways to kind of deal with that, because life is not nice when you have to deal with stomach feelings, right? I just have always kind of seen all my emotions as something that comes from the stomach. I don't really know why that is. Well, I do actually think I know, because a lot of I've actually read that a lot of the hormones of regulating emotions, they come from the stomach or something. So maybe that has something to do with it. Every time I'm feeling really anxious, or I'm feeling really sad, or I'm feeling depressed, or feeling unsure, uncertain, or just anxious in general, it seems to affect my stomach the most. It can go as bad as just feeling so sick that I'm going to be sick, or it can come as much as I just don't feel like eating, or feel queasy or something, which is the same as being sick, but in a way it's very similar. And I often wonder why, how come every time I'm experiencing something scary, or just scary to me, it may not be scary to everyone, but if it's something that scares me, why is it that the first thing I feel is queasiness, or just feelings in the stomach? How come I lose my appetite almost, and it's like I just have this heavy feeling in the stomach? I just really, really wonder why. And then it's I think I have read a lot about it. It's well, firstly, stress can cause a lot of stomach problems, because our bodies go into the fight or flight. So from what I remember being told by doctors and stuff in the past, is that the stomach acid gets stuck in the stomach because there's not as much blood going in the stomach to digest food. So you get, a lot of times you get queasy or anxious, causes nausea, or even make you sick sometimes. So that's one of the reasons why. But also I noticed that whenever we feel that intense feeling of grief, it kind of really runs havoc in the stomach. And it feels like something is crunching it almost, if that's how I would describe the physical, because sometimes it's hard to describe something that you feel as something physical, but that it's not just in the mind. To me, all of this is in the stomach. And it's so weird, because I know I felt this way during different stages of events, different things, like postpartum. I went through a huge few months feeling this way, maybe even worse than this. That was a lot worse, because it felt like your grief emotions get intensified by 100 times compared to normal. So anything that could happen will plunge me into this Great Depression because I feel like I'm grieving for something. I don't know what it is though. It's like if I really think about all the times I've felt depressed, it really feels like it's just grief in its own little way of attacking me. That's my experience. I mean, not everyone's going to have the same experience, of course. Like everyone have different symptoms as well, but this is just me. This is just what I have to deal with. And what I noticed is like when I first heard it about the news, like, oh, there's going to be this uncertain 3 days where we don't know what's going to happen, I felt really kind of didn't really take it in that much. It was more like, I think it was like the denial stage where you're just like, no, that's not true. That's not going to happen. You know, it's like when you're told something right away, you don't really process it right away. And then I started getting really nervous and anxious, and it's like I just feel it in my stomach. And then comes today when I feel like intensified too, but that's like, it's supposed to come tomorrow, right? And the thing that really makes me worried is just the uncertainty of it. Like, I don't know what we're going to experience, whether it's going to be really, really bad or really just fine. Life, like our normal routines get changed around, you know, like just like it during COVID, it really is similar feeling to it, because like what you used to, which is like maybe you're used to going to certain places, seeing people or whatever, like taking certain type of transport or whatever, is suddenly interrupted. Everything's closed. Everything's like, everyone's hiding in the house. It just feels very, very scary and kind of like just overwhelmingly really sad, depressing, if that makes sense. So I kind of just really wanted to talk about the emotional aspect of it, because I believe I'm not the only one that feels that way, and maybe some people are also suffering this kind of uncertain, depressed feeling and maybe just don't know what's happening. I find that what helps me is allow myself to feel what I feel, like not just say, oh, this is stupid, let me just suppress it, whatever. I find that it's really, really important to just allow myself, almost like telling myself, okay, you feel this way, just let it all out. Like let your feelings completely be, just like, what's the word? Like allow your feelings to just kind of like, if you feel it that way, don't, what's the word? Don't hide it. Just don't hide it. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted by my cat that was on the desk trying to do things. So I'm like, okay, trying to make sure he doesn't like, I don't know, destroy the table. But anyway, so I noticed that really helps, because if I can feel it intensified now, then it kind of gets better. But if I'll not even allow myself, then I kind of just stays in there, and I might temporarily be able to like, what's the word? Just make it kind of go down a bit, but then it's still there. So I kind of have to force myself to just say, you feel this way, just allow yourself. You know, it's not going to feel nice at the moment. Your stomach's going to feel crunched and horrible. It's going to be really difficult. You got to feel this way. You just have to allow this feeling to pass, because that's just what you're going through. You're going through a thing that you're not sure about. So don't beat yourself up for it. If you're feeling really, really bad or depressed, and you might even tell yourself, that's not something to be this depressed about. Why am I feeling this way? But don't be hard on yourself. I really want you to just allow yourself to feel the way you do, and just don't be hard, and don't say you're terrible, feeling bad or whatever. You're allowed to feel how you feel. So just be okay with it. And let's know that slowly it'll probably pass, but it takes time. So that's very important, is that it takes time. And how else I deal with it is just try to find some distraction. Sometimes you can do something, listen to something for a period of time that might just help you forget about it for a second. I feel like we're all such creatures of habit. We just want the same thing. We want to be able to, we don't like feeling like we've lost control. We don't like to feel like, oh, there's places we can't go, or there's things we can't do, or whatever. So I understand how difficult that is whenever you're going through some uncertain times. You're going to feel so out of control and just really anxious about that. Just try to, maybe when you allowed yourself to feel the way you do, there's also maybe things that you can listen to for a period of time that will help you get lost in it for about an hour or two. That could just be something very, very nice to just immerse yourself in. I know when I was going through really, really difficult like mind times, like when my mind was going through really difficult times, I kind of play games, like really cozy games that help me a lot. Especially ones that I can be immersed in the world for a long period of time where I'm doing something. Because I find that if I can just not think about it for an hour, that's great. That hour is spent feeling happier than usual. Because sometimes you will notice that there'll be like a gap in time where you won't think about it. And for a second, it's like everything's okay. But I do have to say that it doesn't mean it will stay that way. Sometimes you might wake up the next morning and it'll feel worse. And you might just be going through something, you just got through it, or something, you just started feeling better about something, and something else crashes down. It feels like, why is everything happening at once? It might overwhelm you. And a lot of things combined together can make your mental state just drop a lot. I noticed that it happened to me a lot, is that when small things combine together, it becomes so big that you don't even notice that it becomes this big. So I have this thing where I get really, really depressed if I'm feeling I'm doing the same thing every day. So like having the exact same routine where everything's the same. There's this feeling inside my stomach that is very strong, and it sometimes will just say, what's the point of life if all I'm doing is the same thing? It gets really, really dark in some ways. And I notice like the older I get, the more I feel that way, because when I was younger, I could stay indoors for days at a time. I didn't really feel that way. But I think as I get older, the more I just feel really depressed if I'm doing the same thing every day, like living the same routine. So sometimes it's really, really exciting to change things up a bit and experience something new, because your brain just craves that new experience. But of course, when you're going through something like this, uncertain times, it's going to be very hard. You're going to probably feel even more stuck because you might not be able to go anywhere, do anything. You might just be stuck at home, and it's going to be even worse. So during that time, maybe it even helps for you to talk about it like I am. Like I never thought I'd be the type of person to, as soon as I feel a certain way, I would just talk about it in a podcast. I was always the type of person who always kept this kind of stuff to myself. Like whenever I felt really, really like that feeling, the pit feeling in my stomach, I keep to myself, and I just kind of like disappear from the world almost. Like I just don't like to share it because I felt like I was burdening people if I told anyone. So I always kept it to myself in the past. Like anyway, it's like even hard to tell like immediate family members. It's hard because it's just like so hard to express yourself. But I find solace and I find joy and meaning and purpose in talking about it in a podcast, because I feel like I'm just expressing how I'm feeling, what's getting through, what I'm going through, also what's helping me, and what I'm, sharing an experience. I feel like maybe someone can relate. It really does help me in some ways. It's kind of like offloading something, but without fearing like, oh, you're going to burden your friend or burden people in your family. Like it just, sometimes I get really worried about that. Like I don't want to just like dump all my heavy emotions on someone. But doing a podcast feels like it's fine because people can choose if they want to listen to it. I could just be speaking to the void and I don't mind, like it's fine. But I'm at least being able to talk about it. Like I'm talking into a camera, I'm talking to a microphone, but I'm still talking about it. And to me, that is just kind of like a release in some ways. I'm like kind of getting off the complex thoughts in my head. And usually when I do that, I feel a bit better afterwards. At least it feels like I've done something. Like even if I can't physically do something different, at least when I'm making like a podcast episode, I'm doing something and I could maybe help someone. That's would be like my biggest goal, is being able to make some kind of difference, I guess. That's why I like to share it nowadays. I think I've learned in the past year to kind of like, whenever I'm feeling like this down, depressed feeling, instead of keeping it to myself, allowing it to just get worse, I've learned to be able to share it, but also share in a way that I hope is a little bit more helpful and not just, oh, I'm so depressed or something, because I don't really want to do that. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm just offloading my own problems. I kind of just want to make it in a way so I could, maybe you can relate or can help someone. That's kind of what I'm just going for. Mostly for the relatability, because it's always nice to know that you're not alone and you're not the only one thinking your thoughts and you're not the only one feeling a certain way. I know when I went through anxiety in my younger years, I always felt like I was crazy. Like, I just thought I was the most crazy person and I should never tell anyone because nobody would ever get it. And like, I had all this nausea and panic attacks and I felt sick all the time, every day at the same time, because something made me really anxious. And then one day, I shared it and I was so shocked that a lot of people had the same experience. I couldn't believe it. So maybe you also feel this way. Maybe when you're going through something uncertain, whether it's it doesn't even matter what it is. It could be maybe someone in your family who's sick, or it could be just you're not sure if a friend's moving away, or it could be even someone you're following, you're not sure what's happening with them, or I don't know, it could be anything. It could just be anything. And you just suddenly feel this wave of grief. And I just want to tell you that you're not alone, and just hanging there. Hang in there is what I say. There's always things you can do to maybe just ease it a little bit. Unfortunately, we're human, and it's just nothing's really going to just get rid of it completely. I know that's impossible because I've tried many times, but just say, oh, maybe we can do something that can just get rid of it completely. But unfortunately, we're just not made that way, and I really kind of hate that. I wish we are made to be able to switch off our emotions if we want to, because sometimes it feels like it would just make life so much easier if we weren't so worried about things, if we weren't so anxious. We can just go to a new situation, embrace it, and be happy and not worry. Wouldn't it be so amazing if we could do that? We could just go off in the world, start something new, start a new whatever it is. When we go to new schools when we were younger, we'll go this, that. Wouldn't it be amazing if we were just able to do that without any fear of the unknown? I think that would be the greatest thing. But unfortunately, I know that, we're born to fear things, and it's very hard to get rid of it. So at least talking about it might help a little. So right now, I feel like for me personally, it's not just the fear of the changing of what's going to happen, whether I also fear, what if I can't record videos because things are different? I fear so many different things. That is just not even logical, if you know what I mean, because I have videos lined up for months, in a backlog, because I've been doing so much and I'm so excited about filming. I just love it. It feels so meaningful to me to do it that not being able to do it really, really freaks me out. And I think that's one thing that's causing this depression feeling. And just not knowing what's going to happen. Even though it's a 3-day thing, right? In your mind, it's it feels more like it's permanent, if you know what I mean. It just doesn't know how to differentiate 3-day to a week to indefinitely. So we're kind of just worried. I just feel like we're just worried. And it gets you into crazy things, because when you go into the shops and you see things gone, it almost makes you feel like you're in this time when you need to hoard things to survive, and it's kind of messes your head a little bit. It really does. You go into this, oh my god, I need to start a cave underground. I need to I need to save some food. What if I'm gonna starve? That kind of stuff does that to you, and unfortunately, it's just, hopefully we can just get through it so that it passes and we just can move on, enjoy. And this does make me think more about things. It does make me appreciate the right now moment. I feel like sometimes I'm taking for granted right now. I'm taking for granted right now I have electricity right now. I'm very lucky right now. I can record a video. I can talk to the camera. I have lights going on, because that could all be gone. Like, so I have to really remind myself of that. I have to think, okay, right now is good. I'm able to talk into the camera. I'm able to say my thoughts. And that's really good. And I have to appreciate the right now. It kind of almost forces me to be in the moment, which is something that is a skill that is sometimes it's hard to be in the moment, because we're always thinking, oh, what if tomorrow, what if the day? But right now, it's like you can't really do much, right? You can't really over prepare. You can't really prevent it or do anything. You can only just wait for it to happen. So during this time, I just really want to like say that if you're struggling, I understand how you feel, and I'm here in some ways, because I know we may not know each other, we may not have never talked before, but just know that I'm here and I understand you. And we're all going through crazy things, and just know that someone understands you. That, I guess, that helps in some ways. So in the past, whenever I've gone through uncertain moments and just really, really bad case of depression or just grief, I've always just kind of stopped doing things. But now I feel like I need to channel that energy and kind of just allow it to let that guide what I'm doing. And I feel like that's been really helpful. And that's why I've been like sharing my thoughts about whenever I feel this way, because when I don't feel this way, I'm all happy and there's just nothing much I could share in terms of things like this, right? It's like when you're happy, you're like, oh yeah, everything's great. But when you're going through it, that's when maybe someone can relate to it. Maybe someone can relate. So if you're feeling uncertain and unsure, just know that take it one moment at a time. Take it 1 minute at a time. And don't forget to do something that can really bring you into this other world. Maybe sometime it could be something like planning or seeing a vision of something in the future that you're really looking forward to. Like, to me, that really helps me. Sometimes when I'm going through this ultra depressed moment of uncertainty, maybe something that I really fear happens, sickness, like those things always plunge me into that kind of mode where it feels like my stomach is just like crunch and it's like, it's like I just want to come out. I have to try to envision this life or world that I want to be in, and just envision it. And not to say that, like all I'm looking for is like a different reality or not appreciate now, but just sometimes even thinking about the kind of world you really want, or the kind of life you really want, sometimes envisioning that can bring you some kind of peace and joy without actually having it right now. Because I know it's harder for us to feel happy when we don't have something that we want. But I think I've started to get the grasp of how to imagine it as if I almost have it, to a point where I feel happy just imagining it. Because you know how I always remember hearing people are good at imagining grief before it happens. So if we think about loss, sometimes we feel that horrible pain and we haven't even experienced it yet. But it's very hard to feel extremely happy to imagine something we have when we don't have it, right? It's a completely different thing. But I am still going to say that it is possible if you train your mind enough. It does take a lot of work, and sometimes you have to be really, really good at visualizing things. Like, just visualize yourself maybe sitting in your favorite chair in that little corner of that picture, or you've always loved and longed to sit in that cozy little corner in your house that you always wanted. And just imagine yourself there, and imagine yourself being in that place that you want and that you're going to get that one day. instead of saying, oh, that's not going to happen. Like, imagine yourself in that position. Maybe that will help your mind in some ways to feel that bit of happiness and joy. Because sometimes I'm a person who loves going out to shop, but I don't always have the money to do that. Like, like a lot of times I can only do window shopping. And people will say to me, like, how can you enjoy window shopping when you can't buy it? Wouldn't that be really depressing? I used to think that, and I think sometimes I do if it's something I really want, but I've learned to recently enjoy window shopping, and I can sometimes look at stuff and feel just excited just looking at the things, even if I don't have it. Because I've kind of tricked my mind into believing that I have it in some ways. Sometimes even by filming the item that I want really badly, if I film it, if I have like a good video of it, I can trick my mind into thinking that I already have it. So that's one of my ways to overcome like this like temptation sometimes. It's like, oh, we really want something. It's like, but what if I just take a really, really high quality video of it? It's almost like I have it. It's like almost, because I can look at the picture of it and it's there, because a lot of it has to do with like our hoarding nature. Is something like, it's like I just want something. That for me, it really works if I take a video of it. And we're completely changing the subject now into something different, but it's the same thing, because it's kind of like the mood. You want to boost your mood. And of course, when, like for me, it's been even more difficult recently, because I've recently, after about 8 years, decided to stop my antidepressants. So my mood is all over the place. So I find that little things will trigger my mood to flare up worse than before. Whereas before I can handle it much better. Now it feels like anything that comes up, I go from here to like, it's like, instead of before I was like very stable mood, now it's like can be all over the place. And I just have to kind of just have a moment to talk about it, even if I'm not talking to anybody in like any particular person. I find that it's just as helpful to talk to the camera and make a video about it, because at least it's like I'm documenting this feeling and I'm letting it out and releasing it. So maybe it will help you too. So maybe you can try that. If you don't have to ever post it, maybe you can just make an audio clip or something, just sharing your thoughts and feelings and just talking about it like you would talk to your friend. But if you don't want to talk to a friend about it, which is understandable, some people just, you don't want to burden your friends. Sometimes it's like, I just want to be as happy as I can for all my friends. Like, I don't want to just bring bad feelings in there. Like, that's just me. I've always been like that. I just find it so hard to talk to any friend. Like, no matter, even I feel like the closer my friends is, the more I want to protect them from any bad vibes. So I always just want to be really, really happy. So whenever I'm going through this dark, depressing time, I always just don't want to talk about it in general. I just keep it to myself. That's just how I am. I know some people are opposite. They like to talk, but I'm always the type of person who goes silent whenever I'm going through something. So I find it's very helpful. And I understand some friends would want to listen, to want to help, and because I'm like that too. I'd be honored if a friend just confided in me because they felt something and they wanted to talk about it. I understand that, but still it can be hard, it can be hard. So just know that there are other ways you can release your feelings. Like, just, maybe you can make a video of it or something. I don't know. It doesn't have to go out to the world. You can just delete it afterwards, or maybe write something out in a journal. That could really help. If I wasn't like going to talk about it, I would probably journal it, because that would definitely help. I feel like we're made to want to release some kind of tension when we feel it. It's like if we keep it inside, it just feels like it gets worse over time. So that's been my really, really good way of releasing it, is by actually talking about it in a video, so that people could like choose if they want to listen to it. So I don't have to feel like, oh, I'm just dumping all my horrible feeling to someone else. Like, even though I understand some people wouldn't mind it, I still just I don't want to do that. Like, if they're having a great day, I don't want to make their day miserable by making them feel worse. That's just me, though. That's just me. So anyway, I just really want to urge you to take care of yourself. You know, like, there are a lot of things we can do to take care of ourselves, I guess. Like, what can we do, really? Like, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of fun things we can do to make that little excited feeling come back. You know, that's what we want. We want that little excitement to come back, because when we're hit with the grief, all we can feel is this hopelessness and emptiness, and sometimes it will make you feel like life can be meaningless, and you just go into this dark place. It's like, and then you spiral into like, why am I even here? Sort of like, you know, when you feel that way, it's really, really just, I wouldn't want anyone in the world to feel that way, honestly. I just wish there was something I could do to prevent anyone else from feeling that way. It's like, yeah, that's something I definitely wish I could do, but I know that's impossible. But at least, you know, maybe talking about it could help. I don't know, hopefully. But yeah, this is the things that helps me, are just being able to share it, and also envisioning some positive stuff. Like it may seem almost impossible, but I do believe in being able to envision it to the point where you can actually see it in your mind. I find that really, really helpful. So that's something I totally recommend for you to do. Like, if you're finding it hard to envision it, maybe you can even draw it out. Maybe you can even just scribble it. Like, you don't have to be a good artist. You don't have to know how to draw. You can even make, like, one of the things I used to really love doing before I forgot how to do it, or forgot about the whole thing, was making these vision boards, like making these pins, like pin pictures or something. Like, if I can't see it in my mind, sometimes having like a physical board of like things really motivate me and get me going. Like having like a bucket list or something, like just having these things that makes you feel excited, like gives you some hope that something really, really exciting could happen in the future. That's what we really need at the moment. Like, just something very hopeful, something you're really looking forward to, and something you just want to do. I feel like that is a great distraction, or a great way to kind of distract your mind from all the uncertainties that's happening at the moment, and being able to focus on something that makes you happy. And that is just like all the things you really want to do, things that make you feel happy just by imagining yourself doing it. Like, everyone might have different things. For me, I personally would love to travel to other parts of the world, to meet certain people, you know, things like that, where just really excite me. Like, especially immersing myself in different parts of the world, to me, is probably one of the things that I look forward to the most, because I always have said that just living the same life every day just kind of kills my stomach a little. It's like, I wouldn't lie, it's like just really depressing in some ways, where you wake up, you do this thing, you do that thing, then it's time for bed. And every time when it's time for bed again, you get that nagging feeling, why am I just doing the same thing, right? It's like, so that's why I try to envision those things, because then I can imagine, like, one day I'm not going to be just doing the same thing. I'm going to be doing all this stuff. And you might not even be in this position where you can do all this stuff at the moment, but just remember, it's not going to always be that way. You might have young kids, you might, you know, just not be in a financial situation, but that doesn't mean you won't ever be. So it's still good to imagine it. It's still good to just allow yourself to see that happening. Like, don't close your mind to it. It's very important to have those type of visual images. I just feel like those really help boost the mood a bit. Like, it may not do too much, but it will do a little bit, and that's good enough. For me, it's like even little bits of boosting your mood can make wonders. And it's like, I can already feel it. Before I started this podcast, I was feeling so heavy. And as I'm speaking, the minutes as I'm speaking more and more, I do feel that heaviness is starting to lift. It's almost like a stormy cloud inside me. Like in my stomach, there's a big storm. Before I talked about it, it was brewing up. It was dark. It was really, really, really like just very dark. And as I speak and as I talk about it, as I express all the things I feel, as I'm really, really talking in details of everything I'm feeling, it's almost like the storm is passing now. And it's like the clouds are still there, but it's slowly starting to fade. And maybe you have to experience that for yourself to also have that same thing happen. Maybe you need to talk about it in some ways, because I know like the best thing you can do if you are feeling really, really down is to talk to someone. I do believe that. Well, maybe not. Maybe not everyone. I know some people can just imagine it all, like just have it all dissipate by just getting distracted completely by something. But I feel like the best thing that helps me is to talk about it. And I know not everyone will have someone to talk to. Well, I definitely would love to talk to anyone who wants to talk, honestly. I'm definitely the type of person who would be more than happy to listen to anyone who wants to talk, honestly, because I just live on talking, and I just feel like it's one of the most therapeutic things in the world. Like, it's more that I'm afraid that people wouldn't want to talk or something, but I just love talking so much. I just love it. It's like one of the best things that just helps so much. And yeah, just remember that even if there's nothing you can physically do in a situation where you feel like you're not in control, maybe you're gonna lose something that you really care about, just keep envisioning the good stuff. Keep imagining the good stuff. And if something is really, really like depressing you, just understand that it's okay also to feel that way. Allow yourself that too. Don't beat yourself up for feeling bad or feeling depressed. Don't beat yourself up, because it's important for everyone to release their emotions. It's important. We're made to feel certain ways by our own bodies, so we shouldn't just bash up our own minds and bodies and say like, well, our thoughts don't matter. Of course it matters. Your thoughts matter. So just remember that next time if you're thinking of bashing your own mind up for feeling bad. I know there are people who just would feel really horrible for like just like, I don't know, like it's like they feel bad for feeling bad. I know that's an experience that a lot of us can have, and I want to remind you that it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel depressed. You don't need to feel good all the time. That's not how we're made. It's okay. It's okay. Just know that it's okay. It'll pass, but maybe slowly. Just have to sometimes wait for the situation to clear itself, and sometimes it could take ages. But during that time, I do think it's, instead of like reading things that might make your anxiety worse when it comes to things like that, I tend to just want to focus on things that make me feel happy, like listen to things that talk about things that make me feel happy, or immerse myself in something else. I don't know, it could be even watching someone else's life or something. It's just really fun for me. But anyway, that's all I have today so hopefully you really take care of yourself. I know life is not always very easy. Sometimes our emotions are our worst enemies. So do take care of yourself. And just know that I'm here to talk if you ever feel like it. I definitely am the type of person who would want to talk. So don't ever hesitate with me, okay? Just, take care of yourself. And hopefully you have a really wonderful day.